Chiefs got right back into the thick of it at wide receiver after letting Tyreek Hill go in a trade. They bring in Marquez Valdes-Scantling to fill part of the equation that goes into a wide receiver core for 2022. We're going to get into it all here on RGR Football. I'm Ryan going rogue, and that's what RGR is. I'm going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not, or whether I like it or not. And this is multifaceted, so we're going to get into a couple of layers. We are live right now. Happens to be a good time for it. And thank you guys for being here. If you want to support the channel, appreciate that. Hit the super chats if you have something you really want to say. Not going to do a ton of questions because I got to get through all of the details here. Seth and I will be live tonight at our usual time at 6 Central, so don't miss that as well. If you would like this video, if you're digging it, sub if you're not already one of us. If you are, then you know the deal. And hit that bell notification so you know what comes next, because Lord knows what the Chiefs are going to do next. I don't think this is over. That's the first thing. This is a partial equation. This is a puzzle in trying to recreate what is as a whole Tyreek Hill. Scantling is just one piece of it, and forever to be known as MVS. And Ryan Strange, thanks for pointing that out. I do want to say hi to all my friends over at Avery Brewing in Boulder, Colorado. A great place to have some brews. I appreciate everything that you guys do. What MVS does, because I'll screw up his name if I say his whole name here over. So MVS is who he is at this point. I know there's a lot of alarm about the volume of the money you had to spend. You saved some money with Tyreek. You had to spend it. Unfortunately, Tyreek and Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, everybody raised the level of what compensation is. But it's more than that, because at 30 over 3, which is the average, guaranteed is 18 in the first two, which means after the second year, you probably have an out. We'll see what the structure of the contract actually comes in at. But it's also a couple of incentives as well to get up to 36 in that 3-year time. So there's some middle ground there. And here's what Scantling brings you. And it is the speed at 4.37 is what he was clocked at in 2018 when he came out. He gives you not quite Tyreek speed, but no one in this league will. He will give you elite speed. That is the top end, especially at 6'4". He has good leaping ability. He can go get the ball and high point it. He's made some big plays for Aaron Rodgers. And let's not underplay that he's played with Aaron Rodgers. He understands the mentality behind a veteran quarterback that sometimes has to break the pocket and just make things happen. I think the fit is a lot of why the Chiefs like him. Yes, he has the skill sets to go get the ball up. Yes, he has the skill set to run away from a lot of defenders. He has that stretchability that they still need, which is part of what Tyreek does. It's not all of it. So this is by no means trying to say that he can replace him. This is just a piece of the puzzle. They're going from, like I said yesterday, a 1.5 receiver to they have to have 4 at this point. You saw what can happen if they take him away and they double Kelsey. You have to have 4 viable options that can hurt a defense. Otherwise, defense is just going to double on Kelsey and the number one wideout, and that shuts you down. So now you have a guy that can run, that can jump, that has played in a significantly complex offense, which means he can adapt to the read offense fairly well. Will it be super smooth? You never know. But it is something that I think that he can do. And here's the thing. They're not done. Juju is a piece. McColl is obviously a piece. I believe there will be a draft pick that will be a piece. I will not put it past them because I think OBJ doesn't get signed until the fall. I don't think anybody's taking that chance on Odell Beckham Jr. until later. Right now is not the time for OBJ, in my opinion, and I don't think the league is going to pull the trigger on it. Once he's partway through his recovery, you can look at signing him in September for his return. Add that to the mix. You can look at maybe you double up in the draft. Khalil Shakur, Jared Stearns. You guys have heard me talk about a lot of non-top 100 guys that could fit in, that could play roles, and then you have a core. And then if one guy gets hurt or 2 guys get doubled, you're not out of luck in terms of being able to move your passing offense. I think this is part of the calculation in letting Tyreek go, in that you had to spread out. Maybe become less dominant at the wide receiver 1 so that your wide receiver 3 and 4 can come up and have more ways to hurt a defense so they can't just play too high. They can't play, a 6 shell and get a little physical underneath with Travis and screw up your whole offense. This is, I think, the evolution of what we're seeing in Andy Reid playing chess. I have to have more weapons, not a weapon and a couple of guys. So that's where I think this is. Hip hop, unfortunately, I do not think this bodes well for Cornell Powell. I know Dan still likes him, but we haven't seen any progression. And the fact that they're running out and doing all this doesn't really say that he's there as an option. I do think Reese Fountain is a guy that they're looking for to be the 5 or the 6, maybe replace the Marcus Kemp role. We'll see. There's a lot to it, but I also want to stress that this is not something that is pigeonholed. When I look at what MVS does, it's the speed stuff, it's the ball placement stuff. It's also the fact that he's adaptable. And he is an X. He ran 2/3 of his routes from a wide position last season. He can play on the line of scrimmage. Does he do it all the time? No, but he can. And that's the key. He can do that. He can come in and play the Z and get off the line of scrimmage a little bit. He's a willing blocker, at least from the film that I've seen as of late. And he can run out of the slot where he ran 1/3 of his routes. So he is a guy that can already do some of the criteria that the Chiefs really push for in their wide receiver group, in that play all 3 positions, be able to come off the ball no matter who's, whatever it happens to be. There's a lot that he can accomplish that looks very much like what you want out of a player that fits in this offense. Again, there'll be no way to not compare him to Tyreek Hill, especially with this level of compensation being that much higher than Juju's. So again, you're building a core here, and it's all pieces of the puzzle. So let's not get too carried away about 1-for-1 replacement, because that's not what this is. Now, Avery, I think you said something very, very keen on Twitter. I retweeted you, so go check that out. I'm trying to get your message out because you're dead on. It is one of 4, maybe 5. I do think that the wide receiver 1 3 years from now is not on this roster right now. He's probably a draft pick. That doesn't mean the number 1 for 2022 is a draft pick. So we're going to have to see how it comes out. There are other moves that can make a lot of DK love in the chat. I understand that. I don't know that that's in the cards. If I'm Schneider and Carroll, I'm not giving up DK, period. Like, period. I'm going to get a quarterback that can get him the ball. That's what I'm doing. So that's kind of my thing. Gooch, first super chat. And folks, like I said, if you want to support the channel, very much appreciate it. First, like this video. Second, sub. Then hit the bell. And then if you want to super chat, I'll get you taken care of. And one is Gooch. You can see him on the channel as well. MVS would rather have had Pringle. I can understand where you're coming from. I like the homegrown options as well. But I think that they feel that he is ready for a bigger role. I think MVS was stuck behind Devontae. I think they feel from what they've seen on film that he has upside still, and they want to put him in that role so he's one of the starting 3 and he gets in that snap volume to complete his evolution. And I will take the faith of Andy Reid in that player over what we've seen on the field repeatedly from Pringle. Now, if Pringle were still available, I'd say bring them both. But because the Bears made the smart move and Ryan Poles went and signed Byron Pringle, that's what you're left with. So at the end of the day, I think the compensation's a little bit high, but they're expecting him to grow into it. And this is, much like the draft pick will be, a projection of what the Chiefs have seen on film and how they project MVS to fit into their offense. And I, again, am not one that I think can just say, nah, I disagree. Andy's Andy, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for now. Brandon, thank you for your support. I just understand how we didn't get Woods or Jones out of the Hill trade, or even a player regardless, because that's not what the market would bear. And unfortunately, for a rebuilding team like Miami, and this is very much the case for the Jets as well, except they were more hung up on the draft picks. You can't allow yourself to give up good players, because that's how you get worse. I don't think it was ever on the table to include a player in that trade. Now, Woods, I think you could have sought after. I think they're taking a way here that allows them to get through this season with a salary position that they feel that they can deal with. And right now, it doesn't seem, as far as all the information we have, that they've reworked anything with Patrick Mahomes' contract. That allows that contract to be legitimate for an extra year. If you don't restructure it now, you're not pushing any more money out. So you can do it next year and maybe the year after that and still compensate without having to tear the whole thing up. And I think this is all part of the longer paced plan to keep everything down that they can and not have to redo the Mahomes deal, because then that puts you right back in a reset mode. Chris, thank you. Do you think we still go after wide receiver first or second? Again, it will depend on how the field falls. If they get to 29 and a player that they like is there, like Jameson Williams, yes, they certainly do it. If Jameson Williams if he gets past Cleveland, maybe they start to talk about moving up. They have the option to do that now. They have the firepower to get up there. I won't preclude that. I won't say that it's definite, but it's something there. They also feel like Dotson's a viable player probably at the back of the first. I don't think Olave makes it that far myself. They like Sky Moore in a role player role. That's fine. I think they will look at Khalil Shakir either in the third or maybe into the fourth. I think he actually goes in the third. A guy that can do a little bit of everything as well, including the behind the line of scrimmage stuff that you want to replace in Tyreek's role. I think there's a lot to be here that, again, you are building pieces of the puzzle to recreate what was one guy and McCole being half a guy and some role players into a 4 or 5 weapon arsenal that you can leave Patrick to do what he needs to do. Thank you, Chris. And another from Gooch, thank you. Does this signal Jameson pick because we can stash him? He can learn, no need to rush his year. That's absolutely what this is in preparation for. I think they still value Jameson Williams as probably the top of their board, just like he's at the top of my board. He's 1B right now because of Garrett Wilson, because of the injury. But if the recheck in Indy is clean, then Jameson Williams goes back to being my number one wideout like he was during the season. And so that does allow them that grace period. But I will say too, Gooch, that also allows you a grace period on Ojabo. You can't take both of them at 29 and 30, in my opinion, because you can't have 2 first-round picks that are on the shelf for half a season. I don't think that's a good investment. So I won't say that that's what happens, but yes, one or the other, this buys you time. Now you got to work on Melvin and getting the edge situation the same way. You can develop better hands. You can. If I look at his stats, I don't think it's a drop problem so much. Let me take a look at it. Bear with me a second. So in this season, his drop percentage was absolutely 0 for Valdes-Scantling. And over the last 2 years, 2020 was not great for him. A 17% drop. That's too much. Before that, he was under 10 every year, and this last season he was 0% drop rate. So I can definitely live with all of that. Let's see here, you guys. We're going to wrap it up because this is meant to just be a quick hit reaction piece. I am going to get all of you super chatters, though, because if you're going to support me, I'm going to definitely take care of you. What do you think about Laviska Shenault trade rumors? I think the Chiefs are a good fit if he's still young. Again, this is another piece of the puzzle. The best thing about Laviska Shenault is what he does behind the line of scrimmage and within the first 10 yards. He's not a guy that I think has mature route running to run double moves or to run the deep overs that they want. And if they get the clear out from MVS, that they can still take advantage of. So I think he, again, fits a piece of the puzzle. McColl's been successful running behind the line of scrimmage, the jet sweep stuff. I don't think you want him doing that. I think you want him out in the field. And this is his opportunity. If that doesn't work out, then you have to make other plans. But I can see Laviska. The problem is the trade value. Right now, they have a lot. I'm not giving up anything more than one of the thirds for Laviska Shenault. And quite frankly, I probably wouldn't go higher than one of the fourths. That's just my value. The question will be, do the Chiefs and the Jags agree on a value? And that will be the determining factor as to whether something happens with Laviska Shenault or not. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Ralph. Thanks for jumping on these breaking news. I try, man. Like I work a regular day just like you guys, and if I can do it, I do it. With recent O-line signings, what are our thoughts on drafting a right tackle in the middle rounds? I think it's definitely possible. Bringing Oster Ryder back as your backup interior guy makes sense because he knows the offense. You can't rely on him for long term, though. I'm not very happy about if he were forced to play, what would happen. But right now, I think we see that Trey Smith and Creed are certainly nearly as Iron Man as Joe Thuney. So I don't anticipate that happening. It would have to be a significant injury to make one of those guys miss time. I think I told you guys about it in the mock draft. Look at the Abraham Lucas out of Washington State reminds me of a slightly less developed Eric Fisher when Eric came out. So there's a one-to-one comparison you can see working in this offense. Mad Mob, thank you very much. Appreciate your support. I'm sorry you didn't ask a question. I'll look for another one, but I got a few others I got to answer. Derek, I understand that the trade, but I feel like the 29th pick is undervalued for Tariq's talent. I agree with you. I do think that was low. Unfortunately, the Dolphins didn't have much to work with. And as we found out later, what was originally reported that the Jets were in on one of their first rounders, turns out they were not. So getting anyone in the first round was the better offer overall. I don't agree with, the aggregate. You got sevenths and fourths and stuff, and that all adds up to the same value. No, it doesn't. Because a top 15 pick is drastically different value and talent level than a top 29 or a top 30 or three guys in the low first, second, and fourth. So that's BS. But I do understand that this was the best offer on the table, and they had to get it done because he just wasn't going to resign unless his contract beat Devontae's. That's it. And the real winner in all this, by the way, I'll probably do an extra video on this, is Drew Rosenhaus, because he negotiated the deal and he put the hammer down. And no offense, he is the top of the agent market for a reason. He got it done. I think it sounds like everybody left on amicable terms. So who knows? We'll see what happens in the future. Javante, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Honestly, we stalled last season. It hurt to see the change, but they will come back more creative. I agree with you, and more options to be creative. It can't just always be having to get Tyreek the ball in order to do something new, different, and explosive. You have to have more explosive players. You're absolutely right, Javante. And thanks again, buddy. Appreciate you. Knicks fan, appreciate you. Man, the long timers are on here. I love it. McColl needs to step up, and so does the rest of the receiving core. You are absolutely right. And this is his opportunity. He's in a contract year. So this is a nice kind of combination of timing. Gooch, I know how you feel. Therese used to say it all the time. I completely agree. Nobody beats a contract year. So let's see what McColl can do, especially with proven talent with him to step up and push him. You're going to get the best from McColl Hardman. Is it enough to keep him and bring him back, extend him? I don't know yet. We will find out as the process goes on. Let's see. Knicks fan got another one from you. As far as speed, isn't McColl faster than MVS? Just barely. McColl ran a 4.33. MVS ran a 4.37. So very, very similar. 400ths of a second. I don't think you can see. Here's the nice thing, though, is that's just a 40 time. In terms of next-gen stats, the miles per hour on the field, there's one player that beat Tyreek last year, and it was MVS. So not only does he have the explosive start, but he continues to develop speed down the field. So the goes, the posts, the corners, that's something that he can do well and exploit defenses. Thanks, Knicks fan. Thank you, FLDB. If we sign Rollin Jones, would you like that pickup? Yeah, as a backup, sure. It's going to be about the money. You guys know that I'm partial to Darrell Williams. I hope that he gets a contract elsewhere. I would love to see Rojo come in to be somebody who can, fill in if and when Clyde is hurt, and then Darrell, and then Gore. That's a four-man rotation at RB that I could really get behind. Don't know that that's going to happen, but that's what it seems like. I'm just going to double check. I don't want to miss any super chats because I do promise you I will answer them all. We'll wrap it up here in a few minutes, and we'll get ready for tonight, where Seth and I will go over the implications for the offense. What he had written, I think we've both been kind of X'd out a little bit by this signing so quickly because we've been, simulating what we thought would go on. And we'll continue down that path tonight. We'll try to get into some questions as well. I know there's not everybody can do super chats. I completely understand that. So we'll try to get into that a little bit more. I got Chris's. I got Brandon. I got both of Gooch's. Gooch, glad you're here. Okay, that looks like the end of the supers. I'm going to make sure of that. FLDB. Oh, another one from Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you. How long do you think that they knew about the Tyreek contract? Should they have gone for Amari Cooper, even though they thought it was only a 50-50? I think you have more upside in MVS. Good Lord, excuse me. I think you have more upside in MVS than you have in Cooper. Cooper, you're trying to squeeze out and maintain what he has. MVS is still on the way up, in my opinion, and clearly in the Chiefs because of the contract that they gave him. I can tell that from the structure and the volume that they gave him. And I do think that they knew. again, I think that it was creeping towards getting done at the 105, 110 million mark for 4 years, for 5 years, like somewhere around the 2021 area, until the Devontae thing happened. I think that blew it all out. And at that point, it was a scramble to see if you could still try to get it done. And once you knew the day before that or the week before that you couldn't get it done when Devontae got traded, you knew it was on at that point. So there's not much you can do when the market itself screams for that kind of adjustment. And honestly, this was the smartest move, to not overcommit to what was last year quarterback money for a wideout that's 28 years old. Time catches up with everybody, even me, and we are out of time for today. I got to get back to work before I can do the stream for you guys tonight. So make sure that you're here. We'll answer the questions. We'll talk about DK and the whole 9 yards. We'll see what Seth has to say about everything. That's at 6 Central. If you are new and you've never seen me before, welcome. Make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you sub to the channel. And make sure that you hit the bell so you know what comes next, because it could be 5 minutes from now for all I know. For all of you regulars, we'll see you tonight on the live stream for Chief in the North with Seth at 6 Central, and I'll talk to you next time.